Welcome to World Buzz Bulletin. Today, the 27th of December, 2025, while many around the world are observing the holiday season, the reality on the ground in several major conflict zones tells a much darker story of endurance and survival against overwhelming odds. As the year draws to a close, the international community remains fixated on two major crises that continue to reshape the global order and test the limits of international law and human compassion. We begin tonight with the deteriorating situation in the Palestinian territories, following months of relentless military operations and continuous strikes. The humanitarian landscape in Gaza and the West Bank has reached a level of devastation rarely witnessed in the modern era. Reports from the ground detail a landscape where the essential pillars of human life, hospitals, schools, and water treatment facilities have been systematically dismantled. Medical facilities are operating at several times their intended capacity, often without the most basic surgical supplies, while the destruction of residential sectors has left millions without adequate shelter in the biting winter cold. The scale of the violence has triggered a global wave of condemnation, with many international observers and human rights organizations calling for an immediate end to what they describe as a campaign of terror against a trapped and exhausted civilian population. The question of when this suffering will finally end remains the central focus of frantic diplomatic efforts, yet a definitive ceasefire remains elusive. Despite the political stalemates, the aspiration for a free and sovereign Palestine remains undiminished, fueled by a global movement demanding a future where Palestinians can live their lives with the dignity, security, and liberty they deserve. International legal bodies are now under increasing pressure to investigate the mounting evidence of these humanitarian catastrophes. In Eastern Europe, the conflict in Ukraine continues to grind on with no clear resolution in sight. As the calendar turns toward 2026, December 27th, the nation is once again enduring a brutal winter under the shadow of a prolonged war of attrition. The front lines in the east and south remain the scene of intense combat, characterized by heavy artillery exchanges and the increasingly sophisticated use of strategic drone technology. Russia's tactical focus on destroying Ukraine's energy infrastructure has created a dire situation for the civilian population, leaving millions to cope with sub-zero temperatures and frequent power outages. Despite these immense pressures, the resilience of the Ukrainian military and its people remains steadfast. The international community continues to debate the future of military and financial aid, a factor that will undoubtedly determine the trajectory of the conflict in the coming months. The defense of Ukraine's territorial integrity is viewed by many as a fundamental battle for the very principles of national sovereignty. As we witness these parallel crises, the collective conscience of humanity is being profoundly tested. These conflicts represent a direct challenge to the global commitment to human rights and the prevention of state-sponsored violence. The demand for a world that stands firmly against terrorism and prioritizes the preservation of life over political gain has never been more urgent. Whether it is the hope for a free Palestine or a secure Ukraine, the goal remains the same: a world where justice prevails and the cycle of violence is finally broken. Thank you for choosing World Buzz Bulletin for your global news coverage. Free Palestine, free Ukraine.